Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on an almost into the year edition with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Hey, it is going wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, we got tomorrow will be the last day of the year. So it'll be another big year in for
Yeah, I
EV
guess it
world.
will be, won't it? Yeah, today's the 30th. Wow. Where's
Yeah,
time going
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
way?
There you go. And we'll be in 2026 before you know it. Anyways, all right. First article, BYD is poised to overtake Tesla as the world's biggest EV seller in 2025. BYD sold 2.07 million EVs through November, surpassing Tesla's pace. It's the first time a Chinese automaker will claim the global EV sales crown on an annual basis.
Wow. Good for them.
BYD's dominance is particularly strong in Asia and emerging markets, showing China's growing influence in the global EV market. Well, you and I both had looked at this article on LinkedIn about this. Some guy named Bogdan Ciobanu was talking about China has overtaken the car market, the export market, in 5 years. China shipped 6.4 million cars this year, and they're the biggest exporter in the world. They beat Japan, which exported 4.22 million, Germany, which exported 3.18 million, and the US with a paltry 1.43 million.
Yeah.
We really don't export a whole lot of cars. Now, we manufacture cars in other countries.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but we're not necessarily exporting. So what's fueling the surge? Electric vehicles and cutting edge technology. Early bets by the Chinese are paying off big. They've got streamlined supply chains, vertical integration, and local sourcing sharpen the edge. We think it's your memory, Bill, even though you can't hear us. Bill's going to have to log out and back in. All right. Soaring global demand, emerging markets crave affordable EVs and advanced models. So while we're seeing some pause here in the US EV market, it's certainly not slowing down in the rest of the world. Let's see. The talent race is accelerating. EV batteries, AI, software skills are in hot demand. Betting against China's automakers is high risk at the moment. New manufacturing epicenters reshapes trade balances and alliances. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can show this. Bill is on the way back. He's just in time. Maybe he's just in time. I'm going to show this graphics. This is starting out 11 years ago. Ooh, that's loud. Ooh, that was loud. Let's see. I'm going to I'm going to silence this. We don't need any video for this. But this is showing who was exporting cars. The U.S. was big here. So we're back here in 2017. The U.S. was over 3 million cars, slowing down. We're in the little over 2.5 million in 2020. Oh, we've got some bump up now. Look at China. China just rolling up there. I mean, it's just nuts.
It's amazing. Yeah, I've seen this graph.
This was just 2024. Yeah. Okay, but that's a big jump.
Coming from nowhere. You know, when I was there were just people riding bicycles all over the place, and now it's cars.
Look at China's just growth. 2018, they're just over 1 million. 2020, they're still just around 1 million. And then here we go. You know, each year it just shoots up. Wow, we have a lot of people in the chat today. I'll pop up the ones that don't. We have the amazing, energetic Joshua here.
I love these names. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, it just, you know, it's crazy to think about that. China has surpassed, you know, so many countries in the space that they've passed up Japan, of all people. You know,
well, in a way that doesn't surprise me, because I think the American Motor Company and American car makers and Japan have sort of been racing to see who would be the slowest horse in the race. They had an early lead with the hybrids, and then they just sort of, we'll just kind of, stick with that, and we'll toy with hydrogen. Yeah, EVs will never catch on. Boy, were
Yeah.
they were they
There's
wrong.
no question. No. All right. Moving on. Tesla Q4 deliveries expected to fall 13%, mostly due to tax credit issues, I should say the lack of tax credits.
Yeah.
Wall Street expects Tesla to deliver 432,000 vehicles in Q4, down 13% from the previous quarter. Full year deliveries projected at 1.64 million units. Now, we were just talking about how BYD is already over 2 million units. It's an 8.3% decline from 2024. Concerns over disappearing EV tax credits after September 25 and increased competition are dampening demand. Well, to me, it's just a fact. There's a lot of comparable cars now.
Oh yeah, yep.
I mean, when we started this show a couple of years ago, there really wasn't.
Yeah, that on one hand, basically.
Yeah, there weren't really comparable competitive vehicles, and now all of a sudden there's a bunch of them. The space has really changed in the little over 2 years we've been doing this.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you see the story about the Korean firm that was supplying Tesla with the cathodes for the 4680 batteries has basically canceled the contract. I think they got they've cut their projection of production or sales to Tesla by something like better than 90%.
So it's a Korean firm.
Yeah, it's a Korean firm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that they've written down the value to zero on this contract. And this was because I've been doing some research because the 4680 battery is a larger lithium-ion battery.
It's kind of like it's kind of comparable to where we are used to the AA's, size that typically, might go in a laptop computer or something. These are more like the, what is it, D cells, the fatter D cells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of the goal here was to enable cheaper batteries to make cheaper EVs, and all of a sudden this has died.
And apparently that was the cell that was being manufactured pretty much exclusively for the Cybertruck. Okay. And that's sort of what it says. Commentators, pundits and things are commenting that probably is a reflection of the disappointing sales of the Cybertruck.
Okay. I saw a unique colored Cybertruck yesterday. It had sort of a blue wrap. And, kind of a sky blue look.
Sort of like your shirt.
Yeah, kind of a little lighter colored.
A little lighter, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely unique.
Well, part of the reason for that is of course people like color and like variety and things, but also from what I've been hearing is that trying to keep that stainless steel looking clean is a full-time job. And how many people, I wash my car maybe 2-3 times a year, run it through a car wash or something. I don't have the time or the energy to, polish an entire truck of stainless steel. So if I would buy one, that's sure what I would be doing.
Is wrapping it.
Wrap it. Yeah, I won't do it, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, you need to get one of the ones they gave to Trump that had his picture on
it. No, it will never happen.
Oh, anyways,
I admit I suffer from Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, You won't get a lot of flack for that on this channel. Anyways, all right. Well, this is kind of obvious, but the big three automakers have backed away from EVs in 2025. Ford, GM, and Stellantis have all scaled back their aggressive EV commitments in 2025. The European Union scrapped its 2025 EV mandate, providing relief to German automakers. Political headwinds and slower than expected consumer adoption drove the retreat. I think the problem is your traditional automakers are all expected to make traditional autos. And it seems that people buying EVs like going to companies that came out to build EVs.
Yep.
And it's causing a real problem, because when the big automakers, when the big three keep suffering, and you got to give GM the most credit. GM's really come out with a nice line, a lot of options to buy in that space, but also a lot of people who want to buy an EV, they're not really thinking General Motors.
No, I mean, mind share pretty well still belongs to Tesla. It just they captured it, they held it. Musk and SpaceX and buying, Twitter, X, whatever, all these things that he's kind of been doing to hold on to mind share. So when you think of you think of an electric car, what do you think of? Well, maybe you might think of a Mustang, but almost inevitably you're going to think of a Tesla.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, so it's not surprising that some of the big automakers are having issues in this space. All right. Now, I caught my AI hallucinating today.
Okay.
Grid battery storage crushed its 2025 goal. The AI said it now powers 40% plus of U.S. electricity, which isn't, I don't know where it came up with that. I mean, it's not even remote. I mean, technically, the batteries aren't even, they contribute, right? They're not actually generating power. But here was the deal. Back in 2017, U.S. grid storage developers made this bold statement that by 2025, they'd have 35 gigawatts of battery storage implemented across the U.S. They hit that early this year. They're already past 40 gigawatts.
Fantastic. All right.
So they actually beat that target. Now, additionally, AI hallucinated and then said that by December of 25, 40% of U.S. electricity came from solar panels and wind turbines. Unless we just had a particularly sunny and windy December, that somehow.
Well, we've had that the last few weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly had some wind, but it's always windy here, right? So I created this little infographic. Let me see how well I can get it to show. Sometimes, where'd it go? Sometimes things don't show in my target window real well. Oh.
One of these days, we're going to get a real producer for this thing, right?
Right.
And switching equipment and all that.
Yeah. So anyways, well, my issue here is just getting my infographic to properly format on the screen. Yeah, because I have
there we go. Something's happening. There we are. Well,
I have it, but I can't seem to show the whole infographic. So here's as of December, U.S. grid energy sources. So we've got natural gas is the big one, 45%. Yeah. Now, people always say, oh, coal is powering that EV of yours. And it's like,
no.
Look at how small coal has gotten.
Which one is it? I can't quite make it out here.
It's this right here.
Oh, down there? Okay.
Yeah, it's 15.9%, continuing its decline, now surpassed by wind and solar for the first time. The current administration has this real hate for wind in particular. I'm not really sure about that.
Which they are losing. I just posted an article this morning in the RS stream that talks about that.
Yeah. Nuclear is 17.8%. Now, the number in nuclear keeps falling, and we have 93 active reactors across the nation. And while we have closed some reactors and haven't opened any new ones, although you keep hearing about, like 3 Mile Island and all these others, in the next year or two, all of these are, opening, reopening, being powered back up. And then, of course, small modular reactors are coming online probably starting in 29 and 30. But the number keeps reducing because the nuclear energy production isn't growing. Everything else is growing. All the other energy producers are growing.
I think probably hydro probably is not growing that much, though. I think it's most of what's growing is either natural gas replacing coal power and then renewables.
Yeah.
So we're kind of really going in the right direction here, aren't we?
Yeah. So solar is at 9.9%, which is growing 27% year over year. Great. The fastest growing electricity source in America. Wind is 7%. Combined with solar, we're at 17%, overtaking coal as renewables accelerate. Hydro is at 5.4%.
Yeah.
Our combined renewables, wind, solar, and hydro, and you would probably throw battery storage in with these because usually since wind and solar are intermittent power supplies, they're not base load like these other sources. You need the batteries basically to make them base load. Now, hydroelectric is base load.
Yeah.
Because hydroelectric pretty much runs all the time, but you got to combine 26% of the grid there. You mix that in with nuclear, you're at 44%, and you're starting to get fairly, much cleaner grid.
Yep.
But we got natural gas at 45, nuclear at 17, coal at 15, solar at 10, wind at 7, hydro at 5.4. And then we have other renewables. That would be waste to energy and some other things at 0.4%.
Yeah, interestingly, you don't see oil in there, do you?
Well, I mean, it's natural gas.
Well, no. Natural gas is not oil. I'm talking about like fuel oil, right? Mm-hmm. We just don't burn it to make power in this country anymore.
Oh, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because if you go to a lot of island countries, they're burning diesel and bunker fuel.
Yeah.
And that's just not a thing here in the U.S. Yeah. So our grid keeps getting cleaner and cleaner. And I don't understand why my AI thought that 40% of electricity was coming from batteries. That one really kind of threw me off, but it just goes to show you kind of have to sometimes keep AI in check and verify what it's doing.
Yeah.
It'll go off on a tangent sometimes. So, and what I do with AI is I use it to help me come up with the topics we're going to discuss for the day.
Right.
So that's because I want to see, I'm trying to get a pulse for what the most talked about things that are going on currently in the energy space. All right. Now, Texas Power Grid getting a major battery storage boost for the winter of 26. So ERCOT, which basically kind of manages all the different independent Texas energy companies. If you live in one of the 49 states that's not Texas, you pretty much, you have a local monopoly that controls your electricity. Texas is what's called deregulated. Well, you got like 100 energy companies selling power.
Yeah. Now the difference we have to add that is that those monopolies are generally publicly controlled in some fashion.
Generally,
yes. Yeah. They here in Nebraska we have a utility commission that basically sets rates and says what can be built and what can't be built and where and those kinds of things. So monopoly, you tend to think of, the Carnegies and these guys that were in the robber baron era, right?
There you go.
That Teddy Roosevelt busted, interestingly. So there is some public input into those and I guess I assume that Texas, I think, is kind of strange because their stuff is sort of controlled by the Railroad Commission.
I've heard stuff about that
Yeah,
I've never understood.
Well, I think it comes from the Railroad Commission got involved because you had to move the crude oil that was coming out of those fields, in East Texas and then out, in West Texas and things. That all had to be before we were building pipelines. That all had to be shipped by, train car, tank cars, and so that's, I think, how the Railroad Commission on there got involved. Now, people, listeners, please, jump in and if you know a little bit more about that, I'm just kind of going off of memory and what I've heard. So, there is some, and then with the commission, I don't know. It's Texas. How much of that is controlled by those oil barons as opposed to, the Texas legislature? That's maybe an open question, though.
Yeah. I don't completely get it, but you've got a lot of choices for who to buy your power from in Texas. So the idea is that you get energy cheaper in Texas from this. In effect, it really doesn't. They're still not cheaper than Nebraska.
No.
So, but they are cheaper than most states. Okay.
I was going to I don't know. I was going to comment here briefly. We just had a meeting, I think it was last week, where the local power company is being asked to stop using coal at our North Omaha power plant, which I toured when I was a kid in school. So it's been around a long time, and they want to, switch it over to either put it out of commission or to, switch it over to natural gas or something like that. And our friend Jigger Shaw got on the phone in a conference call with the local, boards and things, and urged them to, stop doing the coal. But and we have a lot of directors who are public citizens who are on the board who are also advocating for that. They still haven't done it yet, but I'd like to at least reach out and say, Jigger, if you're listening, thank you for jumping in and helping. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, how much sway does he have now?
He doesn't have the billions that he once had.
No.
at his fingertips, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. No, but it's still great that he jumped in and helped. But but the Texas thing, it's interesting because they got all these battery storage projects coming online there, and it's basically because they had that problem. What was that? Was that 21 when they had that winter issue where even the nuclear froze up? Yeah,
and the people's pipes burst, and I guess there were some fatalities. People froze to death, unfortunately, and so they had a huge problem. They've been able to sort of, I guess, stagger through, but they definitely, they've got lots of renewables down there. You drive, west on what is the Highway 10 or whatever, or Interstate 10, there's wind turbines, from Waco west.
Yeah. What's funny is that Texas, for the fact that, you think about oil and all that, and we were talking about natural gas for heat, they use electricity for heat. And so you rarely have gas electric down there. You don't have gas hot water heaters. Everything's electric. And, when you start getting to Oklahoma and further north, people start,
using more and more natural gas like we have over here.
And here, I would be shocked if somebody told me they used electric for their heating. You would expect it to be 100%, their heat 100% be coming from natural gas here.
Well, they probably figure it's so they can make more money selling it up the pipeline that way.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and some of that, of course, has to be actually burned to run the generators that take and turn the, run the pumps, either the pump jacks or the pressure stations. So.
Well, anyways, so it's kind of interesting to see, the whole thing here with that coal plant. It's like, well, they need to close it, right? But they've also got to have the power to shut it down. And we've
Yep.
got this problem in that, Mike and I have been discussing another location here that needs significant, here in Nebraska, that needs significant energy. And their solution was we can install some transmission lines and we can import the energy. And Mike's like, there's no energy for you to import.
Yeah.
There's nobody who can give you the energy you need.
Yeah. In fact, I just posted an article this morning that covers that. So.
Yeah. So it's not like you can just transmit it from somewhere. All of our electrical generation in our state is spoken for. And that's the problem with closing the power plant. It's not like there's some power somewhere else they can just go grab.
Yeah, go grab, right. Well, I assume that, they could getting the gas turbines is the issue, right?
Yes.
Because they're backlogged for, 3, 4, 5 years now. So
yes.
Yeah, they put I think Jigger's comment is that the power company finds itself between a rock and a hard place, or something along that line.
Mm-hmm.
They know they need to get rid of it, but I want my lights on here, right?
Right.
And I want my computers to run and things. And then we've got these, data centers out here that are going up and consuming more power. So it's a delicate balancing act, and we need to get rid of the coal, but boy, getting there is going to be a challenge.
Thank God we can keep all those third world nations from burning fossil fuels by keeping them in the dark.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. That just opens the door for more imports from China.
There you go.
Because that's becoming a big market for their solar exports. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no question. What's interesting is in Pakistan, they are able to get solar panels really inexpensively. And so while they don't have a lot of necessarily electrical grids, there's a lot of homes now in Pakistan that have solar panels. And I think their cost, I've commented here in the US, if you ever heard me talk about the solar industry in the US is kind of scammy. Your total cost typically to install solar is about 1/5 of what the sales company sells it to you for. So they have an 80% gross profit margin. Well, no, that's a 400% markup.
Markup and an 80% margin. Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably, the salesman's commission is probably close to the actual cost of what it costs them to put that stuff in. And then the rest of it's going to the company profit and advertising expense and different things like that. And in other countries, they don't have the same level of cost of tariffs of bringing the stuff in. And so a country like Pakistan is probably, and a lot of them are probably DIYing it.
Yeah, that too. But I would suspect that just like the cars that China supports, there's probably some subsidies and things that are going into that to make that possible.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is compared to what people are probably putting solar on the roofs for here in the US, if they're DIYing it over there, it's probably their cost is probably more like 1/10 of what a solar project at a home here in the US would cost. Yeah. And so a lot of homes are adopting it, but they only have power when the sun's shining. Okay, so they don't have power at night. They're not unless they're adding battery storage. So it's not like here, if you have solar, you can just sell it to the grid during the day, and then the grid gives you back your power at night. The grid kind of acts as your battery.
I have a lamp, a lantern kind of a thing for if we lose power and things, rather than using a flashlight or candles. I've got, in fact, we just had a house burned down here because of people had a candle. So I have this thing, and you know what? All I got to do is plug it into a USB port, and that'll charge it. So what, we're not talking, thousands of dollars worth of solar panels to have enough to light an LED lamp that will give that family light at night for long enough to be able to, the kids to do their homework and mom to, cook dinner and things like that. So we're making progress in terms of bringing electricity to these people that haven't had it, and doing it in a really energy efficient way.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned the thing with the candle burning the house down, and it's funny to watch all the different transitions we've had in energy over the last 2 centuries. How we've gone from, heating your house with wood, lighting your house with candles, to
if you could afford it.
right.
That was the expensive, well-to-do families that could afford to buy. I watch some of these movies where they're in the Edwardian period or the Regency period in England and things, and they're all going around holding these candles and things like that, and there's candles everywhere. Those are probably made of beeswax, because we hadn't yet really had paraffin that comes from petroleum. That doesn't come until later.
Well, whales, we had whale oil. Isn't that what they were? Wasn't that a lot of what they were using?
Well, they probably, I don't know if they were using that for wax or whether they were using that within their whale oil lanterns, right? It's not, I don't think they turned that into wax per se. Most of the wax would come from bees, of which I now know a lot more than I did a couple of weeks ago. So
I know the age of using whales for, generating lights and stuff like that. It didn't last even 50 years.
No, it was a very short period
of time.
Yeah.
But it's something that definitely happened.
Yeah, they would take the whale oil or the blubber, the fat around the whale, and they would render that down and turn that into an oil, and then people would use that for their lanterns. And of course, as we killed off the whales, there were fewer and fewer for the whalers, and so they had to come up with another source. And fortunately, just about that time, they discovered oil, right, in Pennsylvania, and could refine that into kerosene. And of course, then that led to the monopolies of Standard Oil and all the rest of that golden era of time.
Yeah, it's weird though to look at how all these things, we keep knocking something out because it's bad now, but it was the solution for something.
Oh yeah, replacing horses with cars. A third of which were electric.
Yeah,
another
cars
third of which
less horse crap.
Less horse crap, right? And then of course, that went to full gasoline, thanks to Kettering and the electric starter, right? And then of course now we've finally, after a century, begun the transition over to something way cleaner, right? So,
yeah. All right. So we talked about wireless EV charging occasionally in the intention of maybe charging in parking spaces, other things. But Indiana and Florida are starting to embed chargers into roadways. And this is a potential game changer for highway EV charging infrastructure. It could eliminate range anxiety by enabling continuous power while driving.
While you're driving, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a picture. This is what the road looks like before it's paved in Indiana. It looks like something to keep your cattle from walking through. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your cattle won't want to walk past this.
But it looks like it's only just segments of the highway, right? Rather than a continuous stretch, it's like patches, and as you drive over those patches, you get a little spurt of energy.
A couple of electrons? I don't know. I've wondered. It's like, how far along could
it wouldn't be electrons. It would be radio waves.
Yeah. Well,
right?
And you think they probably only do one lane, right? So you just have one lane for the EVs, right?
Well, we already have sort of an HOV concept. So basically, if you want to drive on this, you have to have an EV that's adaptable to that. And wow. So think about the economics of that. Now, how would you regulate and then charge the person for driving on that particular road? I mean, they do that, like, for example, in the Seattle area, they have the HOV lane, but you've got to have a special sticker or you've got to have a special device that will, otherwise you end up getting, penalized. So there's kind of a toll road system. So how would they do that? I'm sure somebody's got to come up with a way to that could be monetized to pay for it.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's something in Georgia as well. There's a 4.4 mile stretch in Georgia, and they're using some solar to power it.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
You don't want to do like they did in France and embed the solar in the roadway. That hasn't apparently worked out for them. But I've seen where it was in Korea and some places like that where they mount the panels along the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a median there. Why not put the panels there and take the energy and put it into charging the vehicles? So
yeah. Oh, and they are basically brushless trolleys. Essentially, but we've had people on here that were experts in the wireless charging space, and they said that basically you could have about a foot gap between the road and the charging receiver, and make that work. I still keep questioning how that works out, though, if it's raining.
Shouldn't make any difference. It's radio waves, right? And the car driving over it stops the rain. So I can't see where the rain would be necessarily a problem.
No, I guess you only install these, Owen, when you're rebuilding the roads. You wouldn't do it initially. Let's see. Purdue celebrated a test of the new system on December 3rd, calling it the first ever in-road wireless EV charging to be demonstrated on a heavy-duty truck at highway speeds. This was in the electrified road was constructed by the Indiana Department of Transportation. It's on a quarter-mile segment of U.S. Highway 52 in West Lafayette. The electric semi was provided by Cummins.
So quarter mile traveling at 60 miles an hour means that, okay, somebody do the math for me because I'm terrible at this stuff. So how many seconds is that take that truck
mile,
to pass over a quarter
seconds.
Mile? 15 seconds.
14 to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
According to this, there was delivery of 190 kilowatts to the truck going 65 miles per hour.
In 15 seconds?
That seems awfully fast. I don't know.
Well, again, not a physicist. Sorry, guys.
Maybe that was the rate that it was discharging.
Yeah, I'm guessing that would be the rate that was being, I don't know. Again.
But 15 seconds is only 1/240th of an hour. So I would doubt it even sent 1 full kilowatt.
Yeah.
So my thing is it probably delivered less than an actual kilowatt of charging to the battery in that time. And that battery is probably a 300 kilowatt hour battery.
Right. And that truck is pulling how many kilowatt hours to travel it at 60, let's say 60 miles an hour?
I don't know. This is sort of, I'm questioning the efficacy of this. You know how I feel about big trucks. We need to battery swap for them.
Yep.
And we've shown that technology existing on the other side of the planet.
Yep.
It just doesn't exist here.
Cement trucks doing it.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect application. They're not going to drive, they're going to drive what, 30, 40, 50 miles in a day?
Yeah, they're not going far.
No. So that would be a perfect application for them.
Let's see. The forward momentum of dynamic charging is yet another demonstration of the staying power of the vehicle electrification movement in the U.S. Despite the sharp downside in EV sales after the expiration of the $7,500 EV tax credit, activity among conventional charging station stakeholders is continuing at breakneck pace as convenience store, quick serve restaurants, and other travel-friendly retailers compete for traffic. Domestic startups, including Slate, Tello Trucks, and Faraday Future, moving ahead with plans to introduce new EVs to the U.S. market in 2026. I was impressed with the Faraday vehicles that I looked at and took test rides in. But damn, I don't know too many people that are going to spend $300,000 on an EV that are going to be thinking, I think I'll get a Faraday. If I'm going to spend that, I might as well get an electric Rolls Royce.
Yeah, exactly. Although, and they are coming up with one. I don't know if it's quite for sale yet, but they are working on it.
Yeah. Kind of my joke here, Owen, is if it's embedded in the road, then maybe people won't steal it. But on the flip side, I saw where some road was paved somewhere overseas. I think it was India, and people were stealing the road. So they were going out and they were cutting up chunks of the road and taking it to use it as like pavers in their yard.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So
never underestimate a human being.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. What if the dividers were chargers? See, that might make better sense even right there. If you had those like concrete barriers you got between the lanes, sometimes
and you broadcast sideways rather than this way.
Yeah. It's not an it's not an unreasonable idea. It's just a matter of, do you want to be driving within 12 inches of that? The thing is, the distance from the road is consistent.
Right.
When it's from underneath.
Right.
So I don't know about how it would be from the side, but
I suppose you could set the autopilot on autonomous driving system to. I mean, they do that. We've got it now where if you've got the lane holding thing where you start to move off of the road. The car warns you, so I assume we could have the same kind of function.
Yeah, to me, this wireless EV charging just makes a whole lot more sense if it's in parking lots.
Absolutely.
Where the car's sitting, because most of the time your car isn't going anywhere; it's just sitting somewhere.
Yeah, what is it, 23 hours out of most days? It just sits there.
It just sits. Now I get it on a big rig; it's a different story. But even still, if you're putting in less than 1 kilowatt, so if there was a whole mile of road, let's say you put in 3 full kilowatt hours into the vehicle in that mile, but it's probably taking more than that to drive that mile.
Oh yeah, they what was it? What my car got in the winter time driving when I went down to Nebraska City was 3.7 kilowatt hours to drive. And then mine's a small, fairly streamlined, Chevrolet Bolt. That truck is probably more in the neighborhood of 1.5 kilowatt hours to go, to travel at 60 miles an hour.
I still have a hard time fathoming that it could put 3 kilowatt hours per mile into the battery. So that would be then effectively pulling in more juice than it's using going down that stretch of road. I still, the economics of building that road just sound terrible to me.
Yeah.
And even still, then if you have a mile of vehicles in that lane, okay, and let's say over the course of a mile you have 10 vehicles, then you've got to be pushing a fair amount of juice per minute to be giving anybody kilowatts, at that rate. Because it was talking about 190 kilowatts.
Yeah. We need to get one of those guys that's doing that in Indiana at Purdue to come in here and explain all this to us. That would be nice.
Yeah, and then Mike can actually explain it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I have trouble dealing with the economics of that, and the fact that if you go to a public charger and it's a row of Tesla chargers, you're not supposed to all pull up to the same, to pull off one off of the same charger. Like people want to separate in the space. The theory is the further you are apart in the space, the faster your car charges up. And I don't know. You have enough vehicles on there all trying to charge at the same time, then probably nobody's really getting any juice.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't
mean,
know. I don't have any experience with that. I think I
no.
can probably count on one hand the times I've used public chargers. I just up here, just plug it in the garage, you know.
I mean, if you had cars and trucks all sitting on that, you might
Yeah.
have 200-300 cars in a row. Let's say traffic was stopped, all trying
Right.
to pull from that, and they're really not pulling much juice because there only so much juice could be flowing through that road.
Right.
Because you've got bottlenecks on how much energy can be flowing through there. I'm just saying that I look at this and it's like, you know, because I've looked at if we're having all these megawatt chargers at a truck stop, and then you've got to figure out, okay, how am I getting 10 megawatts continuously to this truck stop so I can be charging all of these trucks at the same time? And it's like, that's a lot of power, you know, and
No, yeah, a lot.
It's a challenge. You'd need, like, literally, if you were doing solar, you'd need hundreds of acres of solar to produce that.
Yes.
And
battery backup.
Yeah, and battery backup to go with it. I mean, 10 megawatts continuous would be about 500 acres of solar panels plus whatever battery storage you need.
Oh yeah, easily. My little project that I'm working on is, oh God, it's you know, annually it's 245,000 kilowatt hours, right? So we're talking, what is that? 240 megawatt? No, yeah, megawatts.
You know,
like that.
You know, and one of the things with range anxiety, there's all these things. We live in a world where there's possibilities and there's probabilities, and range anxiety is one of these possibilities, right?
It's not a reality, though.
Yeah, it could happen. You could
Sure.
have something bad happen, but you could have a flat tire, or you could get in an accident. There's all these things that could go wrong when you're driving, and you know.
You simply learn. I don't refer to it as range anxiety. I refer to it as power. Oh, what's the term I came up with once? Just better understanding of how your power is used and where it's going.
Yeah, or better planning.
Yeah.
It maybe it requires you to plan a little bit better.
And we've got. Go ahead.
Well, when you're driving somewhere, you expect that every 20, 30 miles, there's a gas station. But if you've ever driven across Wyoming to Nebraska in the middle of the night.
I have, actually.
Yeah, the gas stations are all closed. And, you know, so you exit the exits. There's not necessarily 24-hour truck stops for you to stop at. And, you know, so there is questionable issues with
they expect you to pull into a motel and get a night's sleep.
Yeah.
Then get up, you know, and 7 and the gas station will be open. So
yeah, and that's the case in a lot of places in the, you know,
but generally a self-service electric vehicle charger is open 24/7.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. You know what? And we've gone on long enough today. We covered
a lot of ground.
Yeah, we covered a lot today. Yeah, some motels have chargers.
Yes.
You know, most of your Marriott and Hilton hotels now have some sort of charger.
Generally a level 2 type charger, but yeah, that'll, you know, a few hours and you'll get another tank full of energy.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you this. I travel a lot, and if I'm at a hotel in Phoenix, the chargers are almost all full in the hotels. They're all being used.
Mm-hmm.
If I went recently to stayed at a hotel in Springfield, Missouri, and there weren't any electric cars being charged. And I thought it was just kind of funny how I went from.
But they had chargers though.
Oh yeah, they had about 4 chargers.
Yeah.
Both hotels had about 4 charging stations for level 2, and it's just that in Arizona, lots of people had EVs, but a lot of those people that are traveling into Phoenix are coming from the West Coast. So a lot of those people are travelers driving in their Teslas or whatever,
right.
And need a place to charge. Anyways, all right. Well, folks, thanks for watching today, and I'll probably be back with Mike tomorrow. We'll see.
We'll see.
And we should be able to have our show on Friday this week.
On Friday? Okay. Oh, yeah. In the new year. Wow.
Yeah, our first show of the new year, Friday. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks. And have a great day and a Happy New Year if I don't see you on tomorrow.